Hello everybody, this is a beautiful sunny day out there here in the UK, and as soon as I'm done here I'm going to get out there in the sunshine because it is really a scorcher today and we've got to make the most of it because we don't get much of it here. So yesterday I made a very similar video to what I'm making right now. I sat here for ages, said all I needed to say. I just voted Jeremy at the time and I was very excited and very hyped up. I then sort of uploaded it all and then found that my microphone hadn't been working. So all that work and all that effort, and that was a bit rubbish. I wasn't very happy with that. So what's going on right now? Well, I've placed my vote for Jeremy and I feel proud to have done so. It feels like we're changing the course of history, and this is something that has never been allowed to happen before. I have a feeling that this moment will be a time when we'll look back upon all of this as a time of massive change. And Jeremy Corbyn will be a name that will go down in history amongst the likes of Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King. And just think of how many were in opposition to them and how many naysayers never believed the massive changes those people could have ever caused to come. But they did. And it only takes for one man to believe and many others who believe in him to make those changes. It's time where we're ready to overthrow some of the old beliefs that come from old and medieval abusive systems. The British Empire is steeped in blood, designed to make the many pay. It colonised America and took lands from the tribal Native Americans, as it eventually did in Africa and Australia too. An empire is a group of countries ruled over by a single monarch or ruling power. And this first British Empire came to an end after the American Revolution. However, in the 19th century, the British built a second worldwide empire based on British sea power, India, and huge conquests in Africa. Historians regarded the empire as the deserved result of Britain's technological and moral superiority. These times of slavery have now passed, but they will all have been in vain if we do not use our history to better understand ourselves. If you don't use your voice to speak up, you're still in slavery, and even the British public, regardless of their colour or any of their background, are locked in slavery too. This is why our history books are so wrong, filled with lies about how great and superior we all are. And this idea continues where we have those elitist few who still, to this day, believe in this power above others. No man, woman or child is less than another. I watched a video which made me really upset. Children in a classroom given two dolls, one black, one white, and asked which is the most beautiful. Which is the bad doll. And even the little black children said the white doll was the prettiest and the black doll was the bad doll. In the classroom and in most backward family homes, a belief is shared that we are the superior race. And through epigenetics, we have been unable to shake this belief that this is true. People still today believe themselves to be the superior race. They teach the Nazism and the British rule and that goes on, and there's the parties that are completely against any migration and everything. There is no kindness in this, and this false superiority has been going on too long and based upon nationalism and racist scorn for other people. The modern belief that all these wars are about religion is also wrong. It isn't about religion, it's about politics and the same misleading education of the people worldwide. History has a habit of repeating itself, especially where lessons aren't learned. And it isn't until the Middle Ages, where there was no British Empire, but Britain was a part of other empires, that in 1066, William of Normandy conquered England. Other lands conquered by the Normans included parts of the south of Italy, during the Crusades of the Holy Land. And it's here where war began, considered holy wars, and about religion. But even then, there was a different agenda. Medieval kings of this era sought to acquire ever wider lands by warfare and marriage, and conquered lands like Wales and Ireland, which were run by English administrators. And during the Middle Ages, the kings of England tried to conquer other countries. Thank God we no longer live in medieval times, but it seems to me that our government still try to take control of land through warfare, using religion as an excuse, making out this is about those evil Muslims creating situations which will place Jews against Muslims and allowing the Jewish people to do this terrible deeds for them while shouting that this is all about religion. This is the media agenda that keeps you in a belief of the good guys versus the bad. And this is what Jeremy is determined to end, I think, and underlyingly lies that they are taught need to come out into the open. We need a greater transparency. It's time that the British public were able to know the facts and not this biased fictional agenda. Facts that allow the media to share information such as that of the secret family courts, instead of the lies that make British and America appear the righteous peacekeeping heroes. Our courts are filled with lies. Truth is rarely got to through a court of law. It's all about who can convince who more. One of Jeremy Corbyn's policies is to ensure that everyone, regardless of how little money or much money you have, everyone is entitled to representation in a court of law, as was the law when the Magna Carta was signed by King John. Now we're awake to this, and it's time this political agenda ended. They're taking control, they're taking away our rights to vote, our rights in court, our rights to be able to have representation in law. Our governments have behaved like medieval warlords, and it's time this ended. Most of us who are awake are aware now that other than the medieval conquest of the Holy Land and other fractious rebellion battles, none of these wars in the Middle East has truly been about religion. If we are not aware of that, then we are blind to the truth and still acting from this false superior idea of who we are. It's hard to get a man or woman to stop believing beliefs that are so deeply and even genetically embedded. And where we talk about how wrong those who have religion are and how mad they are to believe a man in the sky and, all of these things and how genetically embedded their views and versions of things are, we also have a lot of genetically embedded ideas of superiority. And most of this has come from those of our history and that we've needed to, where it's come from, need to acquire land, taking control, and about making money, whilst conning the people that this is the right thing for them. And so here we are today, stuck, unable to shift from this abusive lifestyle that causes rifts and war amongst different types of people. Something I posted on my Facebook the other day goes like this. There was a time when the making and selling of arms was for war and defence. Now they create wars to sell more arms. We should never be afraid to raise our voices for honesty and truth. No man, woman or child is greater than another, and no man, woman or child is has a lesser right to live than a British or an American. As I've said before, this is a quiet revolution, and I'll say quiet because it doesn't involve guns or harming one another, other than a few career changes for some, those who've failed to do their inner work. It's a spiritual revolution, And though many call Jeremy Corbyn non-religious because he doesn't actually go to church and he's a non-religious man, many still don't get it. He talks of books that he recommends, Maya Angelou. He's done the inner work, and as many of us have, he's a very spiritual man. For many who have not done the work, they will be afraid by what's going on, looking on in horror, believing this is the end of the Labour Party, confused and in fear of change. If you have gone through your own internal war, you'll be excited by what's going on right now in British politics, the emergence of the great Jeremy Corbyn. Those that are perplexed as to why others are not seeing it as they do, why they don't see that, as I'm told, Jeremy Corbyn will never get enough votes in a general election. They say Theresa May will be Prime Minister for another 9 years. These are people that don't want Theresa May in power for another 9 years. And I say, well, that is down to all of you, isn't it? If you don't want that particular person in power, you don't vote for them, you vote for the opposition. And because we're looking right now at a paradigm shift that can't be stopped, this isn't a cult, but an awakening of people from their past illusions. They who just don't believe that getting Labour to power is achievable, they also wish to have their freedoms from those who have chosen to drop bombs on innocents and ask, how do we stop this? How do we bring peace in the Middle East? And yet still they feel that they have not got any power to make these changes. We live in a world that is capable of running a government that is of peace. But those people seems to be stuck in the idea that the only type of people that are capable of running a country are the type of people that are willing to do these things to each other. Stab people in the back and do harm, rather than do good and bring peace and hold their hand out in peace. And many people are now aware that they have the power and are making this system work for them. We need to rise above those who act out their fear by stabbing their leader in the back, in the front, and from the left and from the right. He's remaining standing anyway, and we should take a leaf out of his book and remain standing despite what others say and do. This is a special time in history that we'll look back upon and praise, where one man stood up for the people. And for the many thousands that have been crying out for an end to these medieval systems and the austerity measures that have been put into place by the Tory party because of their own failing policies. Embedded in the British psyche, that it keeps us all locked up in this belief that we have to remain with everything staying the same. Technology is changing now, and we communicate so much better between one another as we now get it that the governments have been using media to keep people believing that this medieval way is the only way to control those others, those perceived evil ones. Yet there are small groups, yes, we know that there are small groups that are evil, that are doing evil. Those do need dealing with in a different way. They too have had a history, though, of embedded views that we are the evil ones. And they would be right, as our governments, such as Blair, have slaughtered thousands. Whichever way you look at it, from whichever perspective, theirs or ours, neither have done the right thing. Neither have chosen the peaceful option, and both have an underlying genetic history of violence that they carry out in this world today. They are all violent. Our governments are violent, and we, as the people who vote them, are violent. Generations are changing. Where my parents were children of wartime, where racism was seemingly a need for a belief in this superiority to win a war, My generation being the children of the influenced children, changing the perception of those embedded ideas, and our children now freer than any generation has ever been, but still the media seems to need to keep them believing that they're in danger of those bad people in order to keep them believing they need governments to keep them safe. Many removed from loving families to take them away to learn that this system is a kind and generous system that gave them what their parents were lacking. And so they now too toe the line and continue to teach their children that this system is necessary and for them, and to keep that belief going for even more generations. All this is changing, and it will change under Jeremy Corbyn for the better good. Generations are now not accepting these lies anymore, and they're using courage and choosing the non-violent option, the option of disarmament. Regardless of the lies and abuse they are taught and are being put through, both parents and children are becoming more involved, more evolved, and more aware. They won't fall for it any longer, and we are at a pivotal point of change where there is a result of a century of awakening. There's been some who try to control, but the masses are leaning towards the good winning people. Technology allows us to communicate our true experiences and realities compared to the lies that our newspapers tell us. And as some are still left confused, wondering and shaking their head, feeling you will never have power, there are many who have been fighting for their right to vote for this change. For them, for the people like me, that moment of putting that cross in that box was a magical moment that came with a feeling that this was a part of something much bigger, a shift in consciousness that demands to happen, regardless of all who are still stuck in wanting to keep doing things the old way. Now it's time to put your energy behind your opinion and send it out for your individual needs to be exactly that, individual. And it's time to come away from making excuses as to why you cannot do the things that will make a difference. Making excuses as to why you can't change your life for the better. Using mind chatter that says, I can't do this, and providing reasons after reasons why you can't change your world. The reality is you can. You are more powerful than you think, and it's a time to take back your power by discovering within yourselves a power that you did not even know you had. We're moving into a phase of people power by voting a man who wants people to run their country. We're moving into a time of individuality where we will be heard because we are voting someone who listens. It's time to do the right thing for you and generations to come by doing what's right and correct for you. It's time to do the right thing, allowing others to find their own way back to choosing better morals and better care for others. Recognise that this was their job to do, and if they didn't do it, then they've still got other lessons to learn and other falls to fall. And I'm proud of my stand where I've made today, and I feel pride in my part of this timeline in history, where the people have had their say and spoke out over the hundreds of power-hungry MPs who have tried to take our vote away. And it's time to allow our creative and artistic talents to flow, for them to be recognised and made valid and valuable, because I love painting myself. You can see my paintings in the background here, and as somebody that I've produced these things, and they're not valid, they're not made valuable in society. It's only things that will keep the economy moving, not any personal talents. They're not recognised. So we need to be building on those talents rather than others' misery. And I've heard Jeremy talking about this too. Through social media, we can connect person to person and bypass the lies of the elitist agenda that has held people in shackles for so long. It's time to join our fellow men and women across the world hand in hand and make a difference with our vote, and by getting Jeremy Corbyn not only elected as our leader of the Labour Party but for Prime Minister in the general elections. Surely we do not want another Margaret Thatcher, and certainly Theresa May appears to be this person that is going to do exactly the same things over and over again. She's even stalling on Brexit, where Jeremy has said that he will certainly invoke Article 50. We need to get our voices back, our individuality. We need to be heard. And we love you, Jeremy Corbyn. It was a privilege for me to be able to put my cross next to your name and be a part of the positive change that is just around the corner and is in our hands. And I urge everybody else to vote and do the same. Thank you. Love to all.